Hosana, which is what we were hoping to come and find at Chitwa. So he's hidden a little bit at the moment. He was up in a tree and came pounding down as we got here, and then down into the grass where he's now lying completely obscured. So un-Hosana-like, normally he's a little poser and likes to stay up and kind of have a look. I think it's because there's lots of rutting impalas around. Maybe he decided it'd be better to come down and lie in the grass. But he's sitting here because he actually has a kill at the moment. I can't see where exactly the kill is, but he does have a diker kill somewhere in this area. I just can't see exactly where the kill is itself. Now, if he lies down, we're going to see absolutely nothing of him. It's really long grass at the moment, and you can see this is typical of the summer months, is when the grass gets long like this and the leaves kind of come over. A leopard almost disappears, and if you didn't know that he was actually here, you would have a situation where he would probably have been driven right past. You wouldn't be able to really see him. Now, Hosana, what have you been busy with? Interestingly enough, when I was crossing the dam wall, I also found tracks for Tingana, quite fresh ones that are sort of just at the end of the rain, and so he's also lurking around there. So those little waterbuck need to be very, very careful about staying in that area, otherwise they're going to get themselves into a lot of trouble. But at this stage, he's nowhere to be seen, Tingana, which is a good thing, I suppose, for Hosana, because he'll manage to keep his kill that he has at the moment. Otherwise, he might have a situation where he'll unfortunately lose it if Tingana does come along. So Indigo Girl, he has been busy. Hosana is a busy cat. We know that he seldom likes to sit still and loves to be hunting and moving around and trying to find as much food as is possible. And so we see him kind of around and moving all the time, and he has been busy, I suppose, finding himself a little diker. And I think he actually came off a kill from Torchwood. I know when Taylor had him the other day with Tingana, I'm pretty sure he came out from Torchwood and possibly had himself a bit of a meal that he was then able to kind of deal with. But you see he's kind of looking up into the tree. I don't see the kill in the tree itself, which might be the reason that he's down. Maybe, just maybe, he ended up pulling it down and it's on the ground at the moment. But it's a very obscured view at this stage. So, Brittany, Hosana means the little chief or the little prince is the kind of direct translation for it. And he got that because obviously his mom was Karula, who was the queen of Djuma, and so it made sense to call him the little prince, the little chief, as, well, basically he comes from that lineage, and as it's turned out, he is the little prince. He kind of doesn't really care about anybody else. He just does his thing, and he's an absolutely epic cat. And his relationship currently with, Tingana is absolutely fascinating to me, to watch that kind of interactions that they go through when Hosana kind of walks up to Tingana and just really doesn't care. As much as Tingana doesn't want him around, he just doesn't care. He's forcing his dad to almost be friends with him, and he does this with Tundi, and he's done with Shadow, and so he seems to be a cat that almost likes company, and we're seeing him follow around all kinds of different animals. So he really is a little character, and I suppose if you are the prince, you're allowed to do all of these things. Maybe he's got that kind of thing where he just says, Mom says I can do it, and so that's why he did it. But he's a very cool cat. I've thoroughly enjoyed time with Hosana over the last year. He's really given us probably more than any of the other leopards, if you think about it. I mean, I know we've had amazing stuff with Tundi and Shadulu and Shadow and even Tingana and Hukamuri, but if you think about just the constant kind of sightings that we get from this particular cat, we are really spoiled. He's given many insights into leopards that many people probably would argue with if you had to tell them that had no experience of this particular cat. And he's also, seems to just be one of those cats that we see probably more than all the others as well. So he really is a special individual, and whoever inherits him, if he moves away from this area, is going to inherit a very, very special individual and going to be very fortunate. I have a sneaky feeling he's just going to be one of those leopards that's just not going to take this I have to go somewhere else for, as the rule. He's going to try and probably have a situation where he's going to try and stay here for as long as he can. Ultimately, Dad is not really pushing him away. Hukamuri seemed to chase him the other day, but it didn't really affect Hosana much. If you think about how Hosana literally just went straight towards where kind of Hukamuri had chased him the very next day, it seems that he's not really that kind of concerned with what goes on, and he's pretty happy to continue to be around sort of Djuma area. So I think hopefully he's going to stay. I mean, obviously it's going to be an interesting one. There's so much upheaval in the leopard world at the moment, and it could very well lead to him being pushed on, but he seems to have kind of thought to himself that Chitwa is his and that he's going to take this in the sort of southeastern corner of Djuma for now. So that's fine by us. As long as we get to see him, I'll be very happy with him taking over Chitwa and even every now and then popping onto Djuma in that southeastern corner. Interesting that Hukamuri still hasn't really kind of pursued Hosana that much, and also this new male that we're seeing on Little Gari, how he hasn't chased either Tingana or Hosana away just yet. Good. Well, we're going to sit with him and try and see, maybe he's going to get up and move. Hosana sometimes doesn't always rest for long. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve, who I think is staring at one of, our ugliest creatures we see. We do, a better visual is maybe slight exaggeration, but at least we can see more spots, and at least he's kind of back of his head is visible, but he's fast asleep at the moment. He's, I think, had probably a good eat this morning, and after taking his kill up into the tree and then bringing it back down again for some odd reason. Hosana, he does these funny things. I actually think he's done it on purpose. And normally what happens is a leopard will take a kill into a tree and they leave it up there and then they just go back up and down. But Hosana's clever, is what he's done is he's brought this carcass down and he shoved it into the long grass. Now for Tingana or Kachava or any lions that potentially could be in the area, it is almost impossible now for them to spot that carcass, as opposed to if it was dangling from a big marula tree in this area. If it was dangling from the tree, much easier for any of those other cats to spot it and to come to where he is and feed off it. He also knows that in all likelihood there's going to be very little hyena movement during the course of the day. So bring it down, put it on the ground where it's easier to eat. It's also out of the sight and out of the way of marauding male leopards in the form of Tingana. And then tonight, if the hyenas start to come back, then take it back up into the tree and rest there. At the end of the day, the kill, which I can't see, to be honest, even in this long grass, I just have no idea where he's put it. I'll try and find it just now, but it apparently is a little diker that he's got. He's kind of then put it down right next to the base of the tree, and then he can just pop it straight back up should he need to, if anything arrives. So I suppose it's very clever from him, and I wonder how he's learned that, because he must have had it stolen at some point for him to have that kind of behavior. Romit, I don't think Hosana is ready quite yet to be fighting for territory. I think he's brave enough and kind of got this sort of demeanor where he doesn't really care about other leopards too much and kind of just roams around. But I don't think he's ready to fight with anyone. He's still a young boy. Everybody keeps kind of thinking of Hosana as, a 3-4-year-old male. He's not. He's only 2, and that's still very small. And so I don't think he's going to be fighting just yet. I think he's just going to try and wing it as far as he can without having to fight with anyone. The thing is, though, is that he's already starting to get to the same size as Hukamuri. So if he can just eke out another year without being chased, I reckon he would be a serious competitor to Hukamuri and to being able to actually kind of chase him out of the way. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping Hosana can cling to this area until such time as he's big enough. Cats, there are females that potentially would be in the area for him. We know Kuchava is here, but she's got a cub at the moment, so he's not going to be mating with her anytime soon, and that's really the only female that he will be able to worry about at this stage. We have a situation where he could possibly, Sabui might push further north. We might have other females arrive, but at this stage it's just Kuchava, and there's going to be interest from Tingana and quarantine there. And because she's got a cub, obviously she's not in any sort of estrus cycle whatsoever. So it's, at this stage he's also not really going to be in the situation where he's mating. There are males that have mated as young as 2.5, 3 years. The white dam male down in the south of the Sabi Sands, he's mated at a very young age, but I just don't see it with Hosana. I don't think he's right at that age yet where he can start mating and start actually looking for females to mate with. Also, theoretically, we don't really want him to be mating with Kuchava or Tandi at this stage, given that Tandi is his sister, effectively, same mother, and then Kuchava is Tandi's daughter. It's a little bit incestuous, so hopefully we won't have a situation where that happens. Hopefully he'll be able to dominate, and the likes of Shidulu and Sabui and those females come in, and he can mate with those instead. But it's going to be really interesting. We just don't know what the outcome of what's going to happen is. There's just too many variables at the moment to know who's going to be where. In a month's time, everything could be different, as it has been over the course of this year. It seems as though every month there's a new leopard that shows up. There's a different sort of way of things going. But Mrs. Grumpy, you suggesting a good female companion for Hosana to mate with would be Shidulu. I agree. I think Shidulu would be an epic one for Hosana to mate with. Be a very stocky leopard, that's for sure, that would come out of there. I still like the idea of Shidulu having cubs with Hukumuri, just from a point of view that it would be fun to have the chicken medicine and termite mound mate, and then we could have the two cubs called chicken mound and termite medicine, and then that would be perfect. So it could be Hukudulu and Shimuri. That would be the cubs. So 2 cubs is what she should have, and then we can have those 2. But obviously that's complete nonsense. We're just making it up, and the way things go. But look, I don't think Hosana is going to push that far west anytime soon. The last time he pushed quite far north and west into Djuma, he met with Hukumuri and obviously got chased. So I don't think we're going to see much of him with Shidulu. More likely him going towards Sabui, Kuchava, and then maybe any of the other leopards that occur in Torchwood. Oh, Paddy, depends. There's obviously times when both of those options are important, so strength and experience can be useful in both situations. So, obviously the stronger you are, the easier it is, but experience also helps. So you see smaller male leopards. If you look in Mala Mala, there was a time when we had, the bicycle crossing male and a couple of others, and the bicycle crossing male was not as big as maybe some of the others, and was still able to chase off and get rid of a lot of young males that came in that were potentially physically stronger. So it's sometimes all about kind of the attitude and the experience that they've had and the techniques that they've had. And Hukumuri is a prime example of this. He's just stood up to probably the biggest leopard that there is in the Sabi Sands currently, in the form of Anderson, and he's come out unscathed. So his attitude and his experience, which I'm sure Hukumuri's probably got more experience than all of the leopards that we've got in this area in terms of males, just given the amount of distance he's traveled, gives him an advantage from somebody like Hosana, who's never really had to fight, hasn't come across males that are very hostile towards him. So in his case, experience is going to be hugely important, even though he's not the biggest and strongest of the leopards that we have out here. So it just depends on the individual, depends on what leopards are around, and like I say, what sort of experience they've had in the last in their lives at that point. So we'll just have to kind of see how it goes. I think Hukumuri, though, is going to have a situation where he's not going to kind of be able to stand up to some of the younger males that might come through and that are bigger. So I believe a lot of you are enjoying the fact that we've come up with these. It was actually Ali that first came up with the Hukudulu and Shimuri kind of names, and that, like I say, it would be chicken medicine and termite. No, what did I say? It was chicken mound and termite medicine. Is that what we said? Or chicken medicine and termite? I don't know. Whatever. Either way, it's entertaining, and it would be very, very funny to kind of see. So I think chicken mound and termite medicine would be 2 cute little cubs from those 2. So we'll just have to see how that goes and see whether or not that happens. I looked at Shidulu the other day. She doesn't look pregnant to me. She might be. She might only have 1, but it really, if she mated when she did, which was early February, by now, I suppose that was the second mating. I'm always thinking of the mating in December, which would have shown by now, but maybe her second round of mating in February. It's possible, especially if she's only got 1 cub. We're only a month into that, and so it's very difficult to see any signs at a month. It's normally around 2 months that you start to pick it up. And if we think of Tandi, when we started to see her, we kind of called that she was pregnant maybe a month out from her giving birth. It was the first time we noticed that she was pregnant, and so When it's one cub, it's difficult, and maybe Chitulu is pregnant, but it's very difficult to say at this stage. It doesn't look like it to me, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. She's not been in estrus cycles, and she's not really been mating much over the course of the last month, so maybe she is, and maybe she's kind of just not showing just yet, because normally with females, when they're at that age, they're young like that, they are often into their estrus cycles every 2 to 3 weeks and mating excessively to try and fall pregnant. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Right, well, little Hosana is napping. He's taking it very easy at the moment, and I don't know if we're going to see much movement from him, but we'll give it a bit longer. So while we do that, let's send you, I think, across to Brent and see what he's been up to. You can see his duiker carcass is actually in there. He's about to start playing with it. So he's got 1 foot on the tree, 1 foot on the carcass. And what he's doing, I have absolutely no idea. It almost looks like Brent trying to look between his legs at the moment. So it's kind of, it's infectious, apparently, between our animals. But Brent is also bouncing around and contorting himself into interesting ways, and so is Hosana. And Hosana is going to play with his carcass now. He's decided, it's time, I want to play around with my duiker. Interesting as well is what happened was we had a situation where the male duiker actually came back here. So I think this is a female duiker that he's got over here, and I'll be interested to see if I'm right. And the reason why I'm interested to see is because often you'll see with duiker when there's kind of one that is killed, because they're monogamous, the other one actually comes looking for it, and very common they actually get killed together, which is pretty weird. I know Tundi used to be a big exponent of that. She used to hunt families of duiker often on Chitwa, and so I think the male came looking for the female and spotted Hosana and then ran away as quick as possible. But it seems like he's rested long enough now, and now he's going to get into playful mode where he's going to pull his duiker carcass around. There we go. You see, it is a female. It doesn't have horns. You see that? So that's why the male was here, is looking for his mate, unfortunately, which is very, very sad. And it just goes to show how tight that bond is between these monogamous antelope species. You would think when one gets killed that they would just run away and leave it, much like what you see from things like impalas and the likes. But as you can see with duiker and steenbok, they often do come back and try and kind of see if the mate is around. It is kind of sad, isn't it, Westy? But anyway, like I say, it's nature. It's the way things go out here. And I suppose Hosana's got to eat. The thing is, his belly is absolutely massive already. And it looks like he's hardly eaten this duiker. So I wonder if he didn't have another kill already. Sometimes what you'll find also when they feed off things like this is that they have killed the baby, and then the mother as well. And then so maybe he's eaten the young one, and now he's eating the mother of this particular individual. We'll see now. I mean, he's looking up into the tree again. Maybe he's going to play around and take the carcass up into a tree. We know he's a playful cat, so sometimes he gets these kind of moments where he wants to play around, and especially when we've got a situation when it's cool weather like this, he often is very playful. Isn't he a beautiful boy, though? His teeth are very white, but it's because he's young. So he's only, like I say, he's only just gone 2. So his teeth are still very, very white in coloration. They obviously will yellow as he goes. And if you compare it, what are you doing, Hosana? Now he's on his back trying to, I don't know what he's up to. This cat is hilarious. What are you doing, boy? Now there's a stick on your head. Now what? Can see that even though he's gotten big and he's kind of growing up and he's doing adult things, there's still this youthful side to Hosana, and where he plays around with branches like this. What are you doing, boy? Now paws are in the air, and on his back he looks about as comfortable as possible. It really is kind of another story of this cat. And you can see how white their tummies are. You often forget just how white a leopard's tummy is, and when they lie like this, it's actually quite easy to spot them because of how bright they are in the long grass. As soon as he rolls over the other way, it becomes a lot harder to see. So that beige coloration as opposed to white blends in a lot better. But there we go. That is a leopard in total recline. I suppose it is a Monday morning, so he's welcome to have a little bed rest, and especially in conditions like this. What are you doing? Wisteria, I don't know. I mean, he's a bit of an anomaly. You see Tamba doesn't really spend much time around Tingana. You don't see many other male leopards doing these kind of things. So the fact that he's following Tingana around, I have no idea why he's doing it. Could be that he lost his mom early. Could be that he just craves company. It also could be a situation where he knows that Tingana often is a safety point, and he's a curious cat. I mean, it's not like he doesn't only approach Tingana. He approaches everybody. He approached even Hukamuri. He literally walked straight towards him. So he just almost is like he wants to kind of investigate and see who are all these other people that look like me, or other leopards that look like me. I want to go and try and kind of see everybody and make as many friends as possible. So he's just a curious cat. It's the same as him following around all kinds of other animals that we've seen him follow. In the case of buffalo, that's a little bit different. He's learnt that potentially following around buffalo can result in food, and that's why he's following them around. But with other things, I think it's just more curiosity than anything else that he wants to go and investigate. It's very impossible to say. It's a question where we just will never know. Had Karula not disappeared, would he be the same way as he is now? No idea. In terms of an investigative cat, he always was. Even as a little cub, he was one that was quite active and went and saw things and practiced hunting and chasing. And so I think he'd still be a very effective hunter. But whether or not he would have the same demeanor, I have no idea. It's, like I say, impossible to tell. Well done, guys, on finding the lions. They obviously had moved down towards the Malawati, and with the signal issues on the vehicles, it's not an area that we can check very often at all. So Peter's saying goodbye to me at the moment. So Peter just left the sighting, so he's just saying goodbye. Peter's full of the joys of life this morning. He's being very naughty on the other car and trying to make me smile and miss a beat while I'm talking to all of you. But we've got this down pat. It's not the first time that other guides have been like this. But Hosana is, as you can see, not really been up too much. He's catching flies now, as he does. But I think he's going to have a bit of a nap. He's got his kill right there. He doesn't really need to go anywhere. So we're probably going to make way for some others and give everybody else a chance to come and have a little look at what's going on. But definitely got a lot of meat still there. He's going to be here for sure for the next day at least. And if he's not here, Tingana will be here. One of the two of them will be on this kill over the course of the next little bit. But we're going to head out. Like I say, we'll give some others a chance because also there's not very much space to actually see him. So if we move back, then it allows everyone else a better chance of seeing what's going on. So I just want to try and reverse back here. But it's amazing the camouflage of these leopards and how they can kind of blend in. If you didn't know that he was here, I can guarantee you 90% of people would drive right past that cat. Anyway, as we go off, let's send you back across to Brent, see if he's maybe had any luck with Hukamuri or Shadulu, and see if there's any sign of them on that side of the world.